We've got even more big news on Constellation Energy stock. I hope you were watching when I said about 2 days ago, as of me making this video, that I believe Constellation could have a huge year and a huge future going forward as a long-term investment in the energy sector. And guess what they did? They went up 25% in one day, 2 days after I made that video. And here is the proof. Constellation Energy Corp went over $300 to a price of $305.19 here on Friday, the 10th of January, up 25.16% in one day. Literally, I made a video. You can go and check this channel. You can go and check my website 2 days ago talking about how Constellation was primed for having a great year. I went over all the details of why I thought that was. I went over many different details. They've also not only been capitalizing on the trend of more and more power being necessary, especially with the trends in electric vehicle production, as well as Bitcoin mining and things like AI server growth. I mean, you have all of these different trends going into the future, and you're thinking, well, what's the future with energy? We have Constellation as still probably one of the top three, if not the top energy stock right now, and they just proved it again today. Over the past year alone, they're up 163.44%. You can see some major jumps. It's not just one jump that happened. They had one major one around March 2024. They had another major one around September 2024. And they had just another one up 25% today in January 2025. So you might be wondering, is there some other news that came out about Constellation? And yes, in fact, they just bought Kaplan. They just bought Calpine in a blockbuster $16.4 billion US power deal. U.S. nuclear power provider Constellation Energy, again, making all these big moves in nuclear, just bought a huge natural gas and geothermal company for $16.4 billion, one of the biggest acquisitions in U.S. power industry history. They talk about literally what I was literally just talking about 2 days ago, how they are making these deals with companies like Microsoft and also with the U.S. government because of rising electricity demand, also talking about these energy guzzling AI data centers and the electrification of transportation and buildings, which are expected to hit a record this year. I literally just talked about this. Again, you combine that with the Constellation $1 billion deal to supply the U.S. government with nuclear power, which was literally about a week ago. You can see this was published on January 2nd, 2025. And then you also hear a little bit about the agreement with Microsoft. Its largest ever power purchase agreement with Microsoft. That was even before the nuclear deal with the US. It's a very well-liked company by the people who actually work there. 4 out of 5 stars. 3/4 of their staff recommend working here to a friend. 92% of staff approve of the CEO. My total return for my Constellation stock, because I told you I bought some. I didn't just tell you, oh, this is good, but I'm not buying any. I actually bought some again around the fall of last year, and it's now up 15.15%. It took a little bit of a dive at the end of last year, but again, I invest for the long term. I don't ever try and day trade or anything like that. I invest in companies that I think are capitalizing on the present and the future, that are making big deals that are going to set them up for years to come, because I don't want to have to constantly micromanage my stocks every day. And you can see the proof right here by the date. I bought my Constellation Energy stock on October 9th, 2024. Now I'm just kicking myself for not buying more yesterday because it was actually down a little bit yesterday. But there could be another dip. There's a lot of times a sell-off right after a major increase like that, also known as a correction in the market. So there will probably be some selling here on Monday coming up after the weekend, which I believe would be the 13th of January. Maybe there could be an opportunity there to get Constellation Energy at a little bit of a discount after a sell-off, possibly. But with all these new deals, who knows how many people will actually be selling at that point. A lot of people might just want to hold or buy more. But like I said, Constellation is killing it. I went over all the reasons why in the past video. I just wanted to show you an exciting update on how well it's doing literally 2 days after I was talking about all the things that I like about Constellation Energy. And this is literally at the same time that the entire S&P 500 is down 1.54% today. So if you look at all the major stocks, you look at Nvidia, you look at, Amazon, Apple, a lot of these other major stocks, a lot of them are down today by more than 1 or 2%. The entire index is down 1.54%. In fact, I think, in my opinion, not financial advice, I think it might actually be a good day to buy a little bit into the S&P 500, just because anytime the S&P 500 is down more than 1%, I'm tempted to buy a little bit of just the entire index here, for obviously something that is known for going up 10 to 20% a year, pretty much every year since forever. But that's it. I just wanted to give an exciting update, talk about the exciting news with Constellation being up when literally everything else is pretty much down today, and by a ridiculous number of 25% just in one day, and I think positioned well for the future. Obviously, I'm not giving any financial advice, but if you did happen to watch that last video that I talked about Constellation in, and you happen to buy even a few dollars worth of Constellation stock, you're probably celebrating today. But obviously this is meant for the long term. There's probably going to be sell-offs, peaks and valleys, but the ultimate goal is to make sure that this keeps up the growth long term the way it has been.